It's like a relationship. The day you fall off, that woman ain't interested as you think.
Yeah, once you start complaining and dragging your feet.
She don't want to hear no complaint. The day you come home and think you could be like, baby, I was down, I lost it. She gonna stroke your ego, but she gonna remember that time. You cannot let them see you one time down. The world can't see your head down one time.
Ever. Open up to a woman?
Yeah.
Never. No, never.
When's the last time you think you've opened up to a woman?
We don't. No, I'm gonna tell you why. Because once you do, whenever something go down, they're gonna throw it back in your face.
With the deaths of NFL player Rondale Moore and rapper Lil Poppa, there has been renewed conversation about mental health in sports and hip-hop. In recent years, mental health has gone from being a taboo topic to being openly talked about and discussed, and recognizing the importance of mental health maintenance and has been amplified. Still, as men, we're taught to suppress our emotions so as to not appear weak or soft. This mindset goes double for athletes in professional sports, as they are in constant competition with people vying for their jobs. Whereas in hip-hop, street rap has evolved to such a state where artists are now vulnerable about their mental health, but are still expected to consistently deliver quality music, deal with the pressure of expectations from fans and social media, adhere to a rigorous schedule of touring and performing, all the while having to navigate their obligations to friends and family, as well as cope from the trauma from their upbringings. As a result of this, performers in both fields have to put on masks to cope with their everyday reality. But what happens when those cracks in the mask begin to form and the pressure begins to surmount? In the stories of Rondale Moore and Lil Poppa, we can see the effects that mental health plays in sports and in hip-hop. Following Rondale Moore's death, former NFL player Brendan Fico shared his thoughts on how, despite the NFL's claims to be accepting to those who struggle with mental health issues, those inside organizations will treat those who come forward differently. Football is a gladiator sport. Its entertainment is centered on grown men constantly colliding with each other at rapid speeds for 60 minutes. And just like the gladiators in the Roman Colosseum, any perceived signs of weakness could mean being cast aside by the crowd, replaced by the next contender, and remember not for your battles, but for the moments you appeared weak. It can also lead to losing playing time, respecting the locker room, or even a roster spot, which creates an environment where silence feels safer than honesty. That pressure reinforces a culture where athletes internalize their struggles instead of seeking support, ultimately worsening the very issues the league claims it wants to address. Comparatively, this is similar to hip-hop, but instead of the owner, GM, and head coach of an NFL organization, it's replaced by the executives, A&Rs, and managers at a label. Music lends itself to artistic expression, and as rap music is a derivative of poetry, just like the poets of old, rappers tend to unveil their deepest vulnerabilities in their music. An important aspect of making progress with one's health is the ability to open up and vent. For inner city kids, rap is the perfect forum to vent and simultaneously have their voices be heard by people that share similar experiences. Through this shared pain and vulnerability that comes from self-expression, fans begin to form a connection with their favorite artists, and as more music is released, this relationship grows. However, sometimes a song can be so infectious that its listeners can completely disregard the messaging in it. Just like Andre 3000 said on Outkast's 2005 song, "Hey Ya, y'all don't want to hear me, y'all just want to dance." Oftentimes, artists will include numerous cries for help in their lyrics, but because of a captivating beat, a catchy hook, or the viral appeal of a song's production, listeners may become so absorbed in the sound and energy that the pain embedded in the lyrics can go unnoticed, turning what was meant to be a vulnerable confession into background music for entertainment, rather than a message to be understood. In both fields, trauma can play a major part in shaping the future of burgeoning athletes and artists. Despite the ongoing nepotism debate in sports, according to a recent survey, more than half of NFL players were born in counties where poverty rates higher than the national average. In hip-hop, most make no qualms about the communities they stem from, and often brazenly boast about the neighborhoods they represent. While this boasting does signify a sign of pride for their hoods, the trauma extracted from these environments growing up cannot be separated from this pride as well. Artists represent their cities, blocks, and neighborhoods like a badge of honor, and although these communities gave these artists their start and material to write about, they're often left to cope with the residual trauma these environments can leave on them after they achieve fame and fortune. On the cover for G Herbo's PTSD album, the artist opted for him to be standing in front of an American flag replete with the 50 faces of lost loved ones. In a promo cycle for his album, he was candid about his experience with post-traumatic stress disorder.
And I told my lawyer, like, I've never really not been in fear of my life since I was 14 years old.
Crazy way to live.
15 years old.
That's a crazy way to wake up and live it.
In both fields, masculinity plays a key part in shaping how both participants interact with their respective fields. On his podcast, NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal has stated that men should not fully open up to women, as it can be used against them later. If artists and athletes feel they can't vent to their partners in fear of retribution, who can athletes turn to be heard and understood? Men have historically felt they should suppress their emotions and not be vulnerable. But ultimately, all this suppression does is build up internally until eventually and inevitably these suppressed emotions can boil over and end up affecting them or someone they care about. Like Brendan Fico said, if any players exhibit or express any signs of weakness, their abilities as players will be called into question. The day-to-day nuances of artists and athletes' lives are similar as well, having to constantly be on the road, away from family, while giving all of themselves for the pleasure of the viewing audience, all the while wrestling with the increase of responsibility that fame and expectations bring. Just because an athlete and artist receives an influx of fame, wealth, and abundance doesn't mean the issues that spring from their environments stop plaguing their psyches as well. These internal issues often go unaddressed, and if left untreated, can lead to codependence on drugs or alcohol. We've lost some of our most talented yet troubled musicians to these addictions. The stories of those lives lost who became victims of their addiction to cope with their everyday reality is numerous. No longer finding the solace they crave from music, artists might reach for a bottle or a syringe, seeking an escape from their everyday hectic schedules and lives. Given that it doesn't affect their performance, athletes are liable to do the same. However, much more common is NFL stars developing drug addictions due to the sheer physical demands put on their bodies. According to former Chicago Bears quarterback and Super Bowl champion Jim McMahon, NFL doctors did not tell them about the injuries such as broken bones and rather just gave them pills to hide the pain. Others say they became addicted to painkillers after years of being fed pills by the leagues. Several lawsuits have been filed against the NFL that accuse the league of concealing known risks of concussions. Often we perceive those as larger than life as having it all. But as we can see by the ongoing Kevin Durant situation, clearly, despite one's money, fame, and status, if one is internally unfulfilled, this incontentment will manifest itself in one's everyday life. No amount of money and resources will compensate for the lack of being truly internally fulfilled. One can have all the external validation in the world, like accolades, trophies, platinum plaques, or consensus understanding of one's greatness. But all that doesn't matter if one lacks sense of self. In conclusion, the worlds of the NFL and hip-hop, while seemingly different, share striking similarities when it comes to the pressure placed on the individuals within them. Both professional athletes and hip-hop artists are often viewed as larger-than-life figures who possess fame, wealth, and admiration. Yet these external markers of success do not shield them from internal struggles. The cultural expectation of toughness, masculinity, and constant performance often discourage open conversations about mental health, causing many to suppress their emotions or cope in harmful ways. As the discussion around mental health continues to grow, it becomes increasingly important to recognize that success and visibility do not eliminate personal struggles. True well-being requires self-awareness, support systems, and a cultural shift that allows men, especially those in high-pressure industries like sports and music, to prioritize their mental health without fear of judgment. Only by acknowledging these challenges can both industries move forward toward a better, healthier, and a more supportive future.